What's good, G Life? This right here is beautiful Killer Cali, California. You already know California is home to its beautiful weather, its sandy beaches, and for the Hollywood nightlife, right? People know of the area is attached to Hollywood, the cinema, movie industry, the rapping industry, and also it is gangbanging capital, bro. Home of gangbanging 101. From northern all the way to the southern portion, from blacks, Asians, whites, northerners, southerners, and everybody else and their mother in the mix, right? Now, when we talk about California and its Hollywood nightlife, right? The glamorous life that people always dream about of one day, reaching, obtaining. There is individuals who have reached the heights and have came out of the gutters, the ghettos, the land of the gangbanging, who were gang members themselves, right? But they, you know, managed to make it out of their situations. So going to show that it's never too late to change and you can always make something of yourself. And that just because you made a few mistakes or just because you are this way now is not to say that that's how your life is going to end or that this is the individual that you're going to punch out when it's time to punch out, you're going to go as. I know a lot of individuals just like to judge, all right, without walking in the shoes and getting to understand. But we can all change and we can all make something of ourselves. So with no further ado, let's get into it. I keep it G like a G is supposed to. I'm from the old school, no one comes close to. Post it up and I do what I want to. Post it up and I do what I want to. I keep it G like a G is supposed to. I'm from the old school, no one comes close to. Post it up and I do what I want to. Post it up and I do what I want to. I keep it true and I mean every last word. I was fooled by the truth, real gangsters. White tee creased up with a strap too. I'm from the bottom where we earn all our tattoos. Boy, it's taboo when you living just like I do. Air is up and you know we keep it all blue. I keep it loony and I don't mean like cartoons. They talk brave till they hear that click, clap, boom. It is what it is, we do what the G's do. Celebrate so we hot box the whole room.
You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment.
To find the first individual on the list and his uprising and his terrain, his stomping grounds, we actually have to be maneuvering and traveling to the area that is known as Orange County. You already know Orange County, the OC, is far more than the land of Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and all that other stuff. This is also home to gang banging, bro. A lot of different varrios throughout all of Orange County. It's notorious right here, bro. I know people when they think of the OC, they think of the other, nice parts. But, bro, it's treacherous in the OC. I know what I'm telling you. You got real barrios and real individuals, out of the orange. Now, to be more exact, we shall be heading towards the very notorious area of Santana. Anyone that's familiar with Orange County knows that Santana is the equivalent of the OC. It is like the Compton of the OC or the South Central of the OC. That's how notorious it gets in Santana. So, to no surprise, Santana is home to a gang of different barrios. And this is or will become the home and stomping grounds of one of these individuals that made it out, which is one Tito Ortiz. Now, who is Tito Ortiz? Tito Ortiz is a UFC Hall of Famer, light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, Tito Ortiz. People recognize him from UFC. He is somebody, with the martial arts, bro, who could, man, this guy's got hands for days, bro. You already know Tito Ortiz, pioneer, when it comes to, the UFC. And this is his stomping grounds. And this is the area in which he grew up in and eventually where he ended up joining the barrio in which he ended up becoming a part of. which is the Barrio F Troop. Now, Tito Ortiz coming up had a rough childhood. Both of his parents were heroin addicts, so he pretty much, had to raise himself in the streets, in the mean streets. By the age of 9, he was already, drinking, smoking, getting into fights and all of that. And at the age of, I think it was 9 or 10, is when he ended up joining the F Troop gang. And then he ended up going in and out of juvenile hall and, breaking into cars, stealing cars, breaking into homes. The guy was doing his thing out there, for his barrio, putting in that work and getting his name known. You know what I mean? Now, who is the F Troop neighborhood? Now, the F Troop barrio is one of Orange County's biggest and oldest barrios right here in the area of Santana. To be more exact, the area that is known as Artesia, Pilar. Now, when people see Barrio Artesia, because they do hit it up like that, Arta, Artesia, Barrio Artesia, people think like, oh, they get it confused with the Southeast Barrio Artesia, Artesia 13, but they're two different barrios, nothing to do with each other. Just one is named after the city of Artesia. This is named after Artesia Pilar, which is the name of the area right here within Santana, where their barrio's at, right, where their barrio's located. So that's why you see, it written like that, right? Now, this barrio's already old school, dating back already, I was told, since the 20s, bro. So one of OC's oldest barrios, this area back then, had a lot of racism. It was an area where it was, the raza was secluded and bullied and mistreated because back then, Orange County was had a lot of white people in it and it was racist, right? So minorities were getting mistreated. This group of individuals banded together to protect one another and form their neighborhood. Now, they are red raggers. They do use the color red. They use the red bandana, so they are red raggers. But they're homeboys, obviously, you know what I mean? It's just that red has always been their color. Now, when people hear the name F Troop, and it's F Troop, not F Troops, no S, so it's just F Troop, not troops, F Troop. Now, when we're talking about the F Troop neighborhood, people think that it's named after the TV show because there was a famous TV show called, the F Troop, but it's not named after the TV show. It's actually, at least from what I was told, by an individual that, I could, he's valid, you know what I mean? OG knows what he's talking about. He said that it was actually named after a militia group before, right? There was a vacant lot, and that's where they would practice, right? In that lot, that militia, right? So they were named, the F Troop militia, so they named after themselves after the militia, right? At least from what I was told. You know what I mean? Right there in their barrio. Now, their barrio is large, right? Because this is, like I said, is one of Orange County and Santana's oldest barrios. As a matter of fact, a lot of barrios were started by the F Troop neighborhood, you know what I mean? They sprouted off of the F Troop neighborhood. Because when a barrio gets so big and the clicas, and it's hard to keep track of everything, and then you have internal beefs, and then barrios the clicas just separate and woo-de-woo. So a lot of barrios that happen with, the F Troop neighborhood, you know what I mean? So, then it created beef. So you have a lot of beefs and issues around this area because there's so many neighborhoods, jam-packed. Because, like I said, it used to be one. So now you get a lot of conflicts, right? So their territory is massive. It's all of the area that is known as the Artesia Pilar neighborhood. But the heart of their hood, their main domain, their dojo, the belly of the beast is everything that's around the El Salvador Park. So if people know where the El Salvador Park's at, that is the Lion's Den, that is the, mouth of the beast, that is where it goes down. Civic Center Drive and 10th Street, all the way to English, 9th, all of that, you know what I mean? Like I said, their territory extends throughout all the back streets in the whole entire area. It's a big, big barrio, you know what I mean? With thousands of members. Yes, you heard it right. Thousands, bro. Because it's been around for so long, and like I said, bro, I'm not adding too much crema to the tacos, bro. That's the facts of the thing, you know what I mean? Now, this is the barrio in which, Tito Ortiz, represented and ran around with and became a part of, right? The F Troop neighborhood. And then, it wasn't until one of his homies had gotten killed in a drive-by shooting, and, because Tito Ortiz was in and out of juvenile hall, for, and doing drugs and drinking. At a young age, like I said, he was spiraling out of control. But then when his homie got killed in a drive-by shooting, his parents had moved him to Huntington Beach, right? And then there, they put him into, I think it was. I don't know if it was martial arts or boxing, and then that's when he began his career and training himself and kind of staying away from the neighborhood and just focusing on his fighting skills and everything, and then becoming who he is today. You know what I mean? Now I know people see him some type of way because of his political views, but we're not here to talk about none of that. We're just here to talk about the individual himself. But yeah, that is who he was associated with and ran with, and changed his life around, and now he's doing his thing right there for Tito Ortiz right there. Now another actor who made it and came out of the struggle and having gang ties to them is one Mr. Shia LaBeouf. Now Mr. Shia LaBeouf is an actor who's came out in several, movies and TV shows like, the Transformers, obviously, is the ones that, people recognize more. Also like TV shows like Even Steven. So the individual has had, a successful career, right? And he did come out of right here, California. Now, he was not actually born and raised like in his actual neighborhood's territory. He actually comes not that far away from it though, from the area of Hollywood. He was born and raised out of Hollywood. And here is where he, got involved in the street life, tagging, getting into fights, getting into all kinds of trouble, arrested and everything, right? He came out of a pretty, chaotic home. His dad was obviously, addicted. He had an addiction problem. His mom obviously had to work 2 jobs to support the family. So pretty much Shia LaBeouf was, on his own, right? To fend in the streets. And everyone knows in those times and coming out of these streets, bro, it was hard and rough and tough, bro. Especially coming out of the area in which he grew up, because people, hear Hollywood and they think, oh, the Hollywood Walk of Fame and all this, the glamorous life, but that's not how Hollywood is, bro. Hollywood is treacherous. It's home to gang banging, bro. There's all kinds of different varrios right there in that area. It gets chaotic, right? So he always had, a difficult childhood coming up, right? And it wasn't until he came out of the movie The Tax Collector, it's a movie which, stars, several other, actors and rappers, like George Lopez, like Conejo, and, several other individuals, right? So when he was filming that movie is, at least from what I was told and from what, some homies say, some homies don't, but hey, like I said, I could only speak on what I've been told, is that he is a member of the Harpies gang, Dead End Harpies, right? Which is the barrio in which Conejo is from. Conejo being obviously a Chicano rapper that's well known in the Chicano rap, industry. Who also made it, obviously, because this is his barrio and he made it and he's successful, but he'll be getting his own episode. But Shia LaBeouf is from the Dead End Harpies neighborhood, which is an old barrio right here that comes out of the west side of Los Angeles. Obviously, the Jefferson Park area, Normandy, Adams, Normandy area. It's home of the Harpies gang, right? Their territory intermixes right there with the Rolling 20 neighborhoods, the Bloods. Now, the Vital Dead End Harpies is a large gang, well known within this area. Like I said, they're notorious, right? And their territory extends all throughout of Adams Boulevard, is their domain, but throughout the 20s, meaning 29, 25th, 24th, 23rd, because they have all kinds of clique guys. Like I said, bro, they run amok. People do know about the Dead End Harpies neighborhood, right? Right here, the 25th Streets is the domain, the Lion's Den. That is where it goes down, From what I was told is that, he's from the Tiny Locals clique because, like I said, Dead End Harpies does have several other different cliques to their barrio. Like I said, it's a large neighborhood, notorious, bro. Who has been trying to combat this neighborhood, throwing everything and the kitchen sink at it, And Shia LaBeouf apparently was doing his thing. He was hanging around there. He did, allegedly, get jumped in and, and you see it. He has it tattooed on him, you know what I mean? With the H's, always throwing the H's up. You see him with his homies and whatnot. So apparently, bro, he's from the Dead End Harpies neighborhood. Conejo, I heard Conejo's in an interview where, he has actually said that, yeah, he's from Dead End Harpies. So, I mean, So yeah, that's what's up with Shia LaBeouf, who made it, out of the gut of the struggle, and now is doing his thing. Now, another actor, celebrity to make it, and that comes out of the gutter, the ghettos, right, who has gang ties to them, is one Noel Gugliemi. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He is an actor, right? He's come out in a lot of movies, right? But mostly people know him from the Fast and the Furious movies. The one that plays Hector. He also comes out in Training Day. He comes out in Sailboat. He comes out in Fire and Rain. He comes out in El Chicano. What other movies? Better Criminal. The Night Before. I think he was even in The Purge. So the individual's in a lot of movies, bro. The list goes on and on and on and on, right? But people obviously know him more from, Hector, from Fast and the Furious. And he is from Southern California. Yes, he is. He is from the Sur of Califas, right? Now, he was, brought up in the area of Orange County, right? Now, this individual also had a hard time, growing up, being homeless and overcoming the streets, right? Because, at a young age, he wasn't getting himself into mischief, you know what I mean? Running around with a bad crowd, getting into all kinds of, activities, right? So he ended up joining a barrio in the area of Orange County, right? To be more exact, in the area which he's brought up from, in the area of Huntington Beach. Now, when people think about Huntington Beach, they think it's all lovely, it's nice, ain't nothing really cracking, but they are far from right, bro. It definitely cracks in Huntington Beach, especially in the south portion of Huntington Beach, right? Because you do have several barrios right here, from the Brown Price to the Amber Leaves, to the barrio in which he belongs to the South Side Huntington Beach. But the Southside Huntington Beach is already an old school, well, not that much of old school barrio. It's been around since the 80s, right? That it was established right here on the south side of Huntington Beach. It was never like a really big gang, but it did have, its presence to it, right? At least from what I was told, more than 80 members. So they did have a presence right here, right? Well, they do have a presence right here. Don't ever get it twisted. These individuals ain't playing right here in Huntington Beach, right? And their territory is pretty extensive. It's everything that's from Nichols. Their territory extends all the way to Talbot Avenue all the way to Beach Boulevard, all the way back around, right? So everything in the middle is considered their barrio, throughout Ash Lane, throughout Cypress Drive, throughout where the Oak Lane, where the Oak Park's at, Oak View Center Park. That's their domain, their dojo. That is where they get it on and cracking, bro. That is the belly of the beast, right there in the area that's referred to as Oak View, right? Is where you're able to find the Southside Huntington Beach neighborhood, still representing, still holding it down. And yes, like I said, this is the barrio in which he belongs to, right? You see him right here posted with his camaradas and everything right there, you know what I mean? On Slater Avenue is, their domain. That's their dojo. Like I said, bro, it definitely cracks in this area. And yes, he was a member of the Huntington Beach neighborhood, but, obviously, he, started getting his life together, right? Proceeded to, getting himself into acting and actually making it, bro, to show, you could make it, you could turn your life around, and that, it doesn't hurt to give these individuals a second opportunity, right, to make something of themselves. Yeah, but that's what's up with, Noel and, his uprising in his neighborhood.